The red earth of Ojuba village split open like a wound under the morning sun. Amara felt the cracks beneath her bare feet as she walked to the well, the empty plastic bucket swinging at her side. She had woken before the rooster's cry. Her son Toby called against her, his breath warm on her collarbone. Hunger gnawed at them both, but she had nothing to give him yet. At the well, women gathered, their voices low with gossip. Amara kept her head down, avoiding their eyes. She knew what they said about her, the abandoned girl, the one who dared to keep her fatherless child. The rope burned her palms as she hauled up the water, her arms trembling with fatigue. Back in her one-room hut, Toby sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Mama, is there food?" His voice was small, hopeful. Amara's throat tightened. "Soon," she whispered, pressing a kiss to his forehead. She poured water into a pot, adding a handful of dried fish and a single yam, sliced thin to stretch the meal. As the stew simmered, she watched Toby play with a wooden toy car, his laughter bright against the quiet of the hut. He didn't understand poverty, not yet. To him, hunger was just a feeling that came and went. But Amara knew the truth, hunger was a beast that never left. That afternoon, she carried Toby on her back to the market, her feet kicking up dust. The air smelled of fried plantains and sweat. She crouched beside a trader, selling groundnuts from a rusted pan. The heat blistered her fingers, but she ignored the pain. A woman in a crisp dress stopped, eyeing the groundnuts. "How much?" 50 naira, more, Amara said. The woman scoffed. "Too expensive." She walked away. Amara's shoulders slumped. Beside her, Toby tugged her sleeve. "Mama, I'm thirsty." She handed him a small cup of water, her heart aching. The sun dipped lower, and the market emptied. By evening, she had earned barely enough for a cup of rice. That night, as Toby slept, Amara stared at the thatched roof, listening to the crickets. She was 23, but her body felt decades older. The lines on her face told stories of sleepless nights and endless worry. Then, a sound outside, Madame Ngozi, her neighbor, calling her name. Amara stepped into the moonlight. The old woman held out a cracked Nokia phone. "You keep looking at this thing. Use it. Maybe God will answer you." Amara hesitated. Then she took it. That night, under the flickering kerosene lamp, she pressed the buttons clumsily, navigating to the internet for the first time. A message appeared. "Ah, you have a beautiful name. Amara, it means grace, doesn't it?" Her breath caught. The sender's name was Daniel. And he was from America. Amara stared at the glowing screen, her pulse quickening. She had never held a conversation with a stranger, let alone a man from another country. Her fingers hovered over the keys, unsure what to say. Finally, she typed, "Yes. Grace."
A reply came instantly. "I knew it. Names have power. What's your story, Amara?" Her story? She glanced at Toby, asleep beside her. How could she explain a life of hunger and shame? "I live in a small village," she wrote carefully. "Life is hard." Daniel's response was swift. "Hard how?" Amara hesitated. Then, slowly, she began to type, about the market, the empty nights, the way her back ached from carrying water. But she left out Toby. "You're strong," Daniel replied. "Stronger than you know." No one had ever called her strong. They talked until the phone's battery died. The next morning, Amara returned the phone to Madame Ngozi, her mind racing. "Did you find what you were looking for?" the old woman asked. Amara nodded slowly. "Maybe." The Nokia phone burned like a hot coal in Amara's palm as she waited for Madame Ngozi to fall asleep. Moonlight streamed through the cracks in her mud hut, painting silver stripes across Toby's sleeping face. Her fingers trembled as she typed. "What's America like?" Daniel's reply came faster than she expected. Different. Free. You could go to school here. Work anywhere. No one would look down on you. Amara's breath caught. No one looking down on her? It sounded like a dream. Toby stirred in his sleep, his small fingers clutching the ragged edge of their shared blanket. Do you have family? Daniel asked. The question hit like a punch. Amara stared at Toby's peaceful face, his long lashes, the slight pout of his lips. She had practiced this lie in her head a dozen times. No, she typed. It's just me. The moment she sent it, her stomach twisted. She touched Toby's cheek, whispering, "Forgive me." Daniel responded with excitement, "Then you should come. I could help you. We could meet." Amara's pulse raced. This was madness. Yet as she looked around the hut, at the crumbling walls, the empty cooking pot, the temptation grew. A cockroach skittered across the dirt floor. Toby whimpered in his sleep. Amara made her decision. Yes, she typed. I want to meet you. 3 months later, Amara stood at the Lagos airport, her entire life packed into one frayed suitcase. Toby clung to Mom Ngozie's wrapper, his eyes wide with confusion. You'll take good care of him? Amara whispered, pressing her last 5,000 naira into the old woman's hand. Mom Ngozi frowned. You're making a mistake, child. Amara knelt before Toby. Mama will come back for you. With presents. Big cars and chocolate. Toby's lip trembled. Don't go. The boarding call echoed through the terminal. Amara kissed his tears, then turned away before she could change her mind. On the plane, a flight attendant offered champagne. Amara had never tasted alcohol. The bubbles burned her throat, just like her shame. As Nigeria disappeared beneath the clouds, she repeated her promise like a prayer, I'll come back. I'll come back. Daniel's house smelled like lemons and new carpet. Amara gaped at the refrigerator, it made ice. The shower had hot water that never ran out. You're beautiful, Daniel murmured that night, tracing the tribal marks on her cheeks, marks she'd always hated. For the first time, Amara felt beautiful. But when Daniel took her shopping, she froze in the toy aisle. A little boy about Toby's age reached for a red truck. You like kids? Daniel asked. Amara's mouth went dry. No, she lied. Not really. That night, she dreamt of Toby crying. She woke screaming. Daniel held her. Bad dream? Amara nodded, swallowing the truth like a stone. The doctor's office was colder than Amara expected. No medical reason you can't conceive, the white-coated man said. Daniel squeezed her hand. We'll keep trying. But Amara knew the truth. Every time they made love, she saw Toby's face. Her body was punishing her. At the pharmacy, a pregnant woman rubbed her belly. Amara burst into tears. Baby fever? The cashier joked. Amara ran outside and vomited in the parking lot. That night, she Googled how to bring a child from Nigeria to America. The paperwork would take years. Toby would be grown by then. Amara woke with a start on December 12, her heart pounding. Toby's 5th birthday. She reached for her phone, 3:17 a.m. in Virginia, 8:17 a.m. in Nigeria. Daniel mumbled in his sleep as she crept to the bathroom. The marble tiles chilled her bare feet. She locked the door and dialed Mom Ngozie's number with shaking fingers. 3 rings. 4. Then, hello? It's me, Amara whispered. How is he? A pause. The sound of shuffling. Then Toby's voice, sleepy but bright, Mama? Amara choked back a sob. Happy birthday, my love. Did Grandma give you the present I sent? Yes. A football. But, when are you coming home? The question pierced her. Through the door, she heard Daniel stir. Soon, she lied. Be good for Grandma. She hung up just as the bathroom doorknob turned. "Everything okay?" Daniel asked, rubbing his eyes. Amara flushed the toilet for cover. "Just, my stomach." That afternoon, she baked a cake, vanilla with chocolate frosting, just like Toby loved. "Who's this for?" Daniel laughed as she lit candles. Amara blew them out herself. "No one. Just practicing." Amara wasn't supposed to have social media. Daniel said it was dangerous for immigrants. But while cleaning his office, she found his iPad logged into Facebook. Her fingers moved before she could stop them. Search, Ojuba Primary School. And there he was, Toby in a blue uniform, grinning beside a chalkboard. His front teeth were missing. Amara traced the screen, weeping silently. A notification popped up, "Daniel's flight to Chicago is confirmed." She clicked. His messages with Lisa from HR filled the screen. "Can't wait for our business dinner." "She won't suspect a thing," Daniel had replied. The iPad slipped from her hands. That night, when Daniel packed for his trip, Amara smiled sweetly. "Bring me back something nice." The teller at Wells Fargo frowned. "You want to withdraw how much?" $5,000, Amara repeated, sliding over her secret debit card, the one Daniel didn't know about, funded by her under-the-table cleaning jobs. As the cashier counted bills, Amara calculated. $2,300 for Toby's visa. $1,500 for a plane ticket. $1,200 left for bribes. Her phone buzzed. "Daniel, miss you. Home tomorrow." Amara typed back, "Can't wait," smiling face with smiling eyes. Then she walked straight to the travel agency. Mrs. Calloway from next door was Amara's only friend. That evening, she brought over pecan pie. "You look pale, honey." Amara hesitated. "Can I borrow your phone?" "Mine's dead." As Mrs. Calloway went to fetch it, Amara rehearsed the words she'd practiced for weeks. The call connected on the first ring. U.S. Embassy, Lagos, how may I? Amara took a deep breath. "I need to report an immigration violation." Silence. Then, "What kind of violation?" Amara watched Daniel's car pull into the driveway. "My husband," she whispered. "He doesn't know I have a son." The phone slipped in Amara's sweaty palm as the embassy officer spoke. "Ma'am, you understand this could affect your own immigration status?" Through the kitchen window, she saw Daniel unloading his suitcase from the car, his business trip over. "I don't care," Amara whispered. "Just help me get my son." A pause. "We'll need documentation. Birth certificate, photos, proof of relationship." The front door opened. Amara hung up just as Daniel walked in, his tie loosened. "Who were you talking to?" Mrs. Calloway's landline cord dangled between them. Amara forced a smile. "Your mother. She called to check on us." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "My mother's been dead for 10 years. That night, Amara waited until Daniel's snores filled the bedroom before sliding out of bed. The hardwood floor creaked as she tiptoed to his office. His bottom desk drawer was always locked. Tonight, she'd stolen the key from his keyring while he showered. The drawer slid open with a whisper. Inside, a passport with her photo but a different name, Lydia Bello. A marriage certificate to a man she'd never met. And a life insurance policy for $500,000. With Daniel as the beneficiary. Amara's hands shook so badly the papers rattled. This wasn't just a lie, it was a trap. A floorboard groaned behind her. "Find what you needed?" Daniel leaned in the doorway, holding a glass of bourbon. Amara ran barefoot down the suburban street, Daniel's shouts fading behind her. She'd made it exactly 3 blocks when her phone buzzed, a Lagos area code. "Amara?" Mom Ngozie's voice crackled. "They came for Toby." Men in uniforms. Ice flooded Amara's veins. "Who?" "Immigration. They said his papers were fake." In the background, Toby wailed. A man barked, "This child is entering protective custody." The call cut out. Amara fell to her knees on the cold asphalt. Daniel hadn't just lied to her, he'd set a snare for Toby too. Amara fed quarters into a payphone, dialing the only person who might help, Mrs. Calloway's son, a lawyer. "Jason, listen carefully," she breathed. "I need asylum papers for a 5-year-old Nigerian boy." A pause. "That'll take months." Amara watched a police cruiser roll through the parking lot. "We don't have months." She heard keyboard clicks. "There's one option, humanitarian parole. But you'd need to prove the child's life is in danger." Through the station windows, flashing red lights appeared. Amara ducked her head. His father was in Boko Haram. A lie. But she'd burn in hell before she let Toby rot in some orphanage. The Uber driver frowned at Amara's torn dress and bleeding feet. "You okay, miss?" "No," Amara said, buckling in. "Airport. Fast." As they merged onto I-95, her burner phone buzzed, an encrypted email from Jason. Attached was a forged death certificate for Toby's terrorist father and a photoshopped news article linking him to bombings. Amara deleted it after reading just once. The documents made her sick, but they might save her son. At Dulles Airport, she approached the Delta counter with Jason's emergency cash. "Next flight to Lagos, please." The agent hesitated. "That's $2,100 one way." Amara slid over every dollar she had left. As the boarding pass printed, her reflection in the glass looked like a stranger's, hollow-eyed, desperate. The woman she'd been in Ojuba would never recognize her now. The Lagos heat hit Amara like a physical blow as she stepped off the plane. 12 hours ago, she'd been in air-conditioned America. Now the familiar smells of burning trash and frying plantains wrapped around her like a shroud. She took a Danfo bus to Ojuba, the rusty vehicle lurching over potholes. Through the window, children in torn uniforms waved at passing cars. One boy, about Toby's age, carried a bucket of water on his head. Amara turned away, guilt sour in her throat. The village looked smaller. The market stalls leaned more precariously. Mom Ngozi's compound wall had crumbled further. But no children played in the yard. "Ah. The American has returned." Mom Ngozi emerged, wiping her hands on a faded wrapper. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Amara dropped her bag. "Where's Toby?" The old woman spat. "You left him. Now you ask?" The Lagos State Children's Home was a concrete block surrounded by razor wire. A fan whirred uselessly in the director's office as Amara pleaded. "Look again. Toby Adeyemi. 5 years old. Brought in last week." The director, a heavy-set woman with gold-rimmed glasses, sighed. "No Adeyemi here. But we did get in Daniel Okon from immigration." Amara's blood ran cold. "Daniel's last name?" The woman slid a file across the desk. The photo showed Toby, eyes red from crying, wearing a name tag that read OKON. "Who brought him?" Amara whispered. "A white man. Said he was the father." Night fell as Amara paced the cheap hotel room, Jason's burner phone pressed to her ear. "They're processing adoption papers," the lawyer said. "Daniel's claiming Toby is his biological son from a previous relationship." Amara gripped the phone. "That's impossible." "Not according to the birth certificate he filed." She kicked the flimsy bed frame. "How much to stop it?" A pause. "My contact at the ministry wants $15,000. Amara stared at her dwindling cash. "I have $4,200. The line crackled. "Then you'd better find the rest." Mr. Briggs smelled like cigars and expensive cologne. His Rolex glinted as he poured Amara a drink in his Victoria Island penthouse. "My wife can't conceive," he said. "We'll pay $20,000 for a healthy baby." Amara's glass froze midway to her lips. "Not my son," she hissed. Briggs smiled. I meant as a broker. Bring me 3 children from your village, and I'll give you the money to save yours. The ice in Amara's whiskey clinked as her hand shook. Outside, yachts bobbed in the harbor like toys. The orphanage guard took 50,000 naira to look the other way. Amara crept through the dormitory, heart hammering. Rows of bunk beds held sleeping children. Then, a whimper. Toby sat up, rubbing his eyes. Mama? Amara clamped a hand over his mouth. Quiet, baby. She lifted him, shocked at how light he felt. His ribs pressed against her arms. They'd almost reached the exit when floodlights blazed. Stop right there. A security guard cocked his rifle. Behind him stood Daniel, holding adoption papers. Hello, wife, he said. Cold metal bit into Amara's wrists as the police shoved her into the black Maria van. Toby's screams echoed through the night, Mama. Mama. Until Daniel carried him away. The holding cell stank of urine and despair. A female officer tossed in a plastic bucket. For when you need to piss. Amara paced the 3 concrete steps her chains allowed. I want my son back. The officer laughed. American man has papers. You have nothing. Through the barred window, dawn painted the sky blood red. Somewhere in Lagos, Toby was waking up to a stranger calling himself daddy. Amara vomited into the bucket. The man in the pinstripe suit didn't look like a savior. His briefcase was scuffed, his collar frayed. Barrister Femi, he said, squatting to eye level with Amara's chains. Mrs. Calloway sent me. Amara's breath caught. The old neighbor had gotten her message. Femi lowered his voice. Daniel Okon filed adoption papers 3 months ago. Long before you returned. The revelation hit like a slap. Daniel had planned this from the beginning. Can you help me? Amara rasped. Femi opened his briefcase, revealing a battered voice recorder. Tell me everything. Especially about the life insurance policy. Lagos High Court buzzed with reporters. Daniel sat smug beside his Nigerian lawyer, bouncing Toby on his knee. The boy stared blankly ahead, thumb in mouth. Then Femi dropped his bombshell. Your Honor, we submit Exhibit B, a death certificate from Cook County, Illinois. He held up a document. Daniel Okon's first wife, Nneka, died 2 weeks after a similar insurance policy was taken out. Daniel shot up. Objection. That's irrelevant. The judge adjusted his wig. Overruled. Femi continued, we also submit Exhibit C. Hospital records showing Nneka complained of dizziness before her accidental fall down the stairs. Amara's stomach twisted. She'd been wife number 2 in a deadly pattern. Femi's contact at immigration demanded double the original bribe. $50,000 to make the adoption disappear. Amara had nothing left until Briggs arrived at her hotel. The oil man slid an envelope across the table. For saving me from buying a murdered woman's child. Inside, $60,000 cash. Amara pushed it back. I won't bring you children. Briggs smiled. I don't want children anymore. I want Daniel's oil contracts. He tapped the envelope. This buys his company's secrets. Amara took the money. Some sins could be washed clean. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. Adoption voided. Child returned to biological mother. Daniel lunged, he's mine. But guards restrained him. Toby ran to Amara, burying his face in her neck. His familiar weight anchored her to earth. Outside, reporters swarmed. Femi whispered, go now. Before Daniel's friends in high places intervene. A black SUV screeched up. Mrs. Calloway's wrinkled hand beckoned from the window. Hurry, child. As they sped away, Toby touched Amara's wet cheeks. Don't cry, Mama. She kissed his fingertips. These tears were different. They tasted like salt. Like the sea. Like the freedom. SUV wound through Lagos backstreets, taking deliberate wrong turns. Mrs. Calloway kept glancing at the rearview mirror. "We're being followed." Amara clutched Toby tighter. His small hands gripped her shirt as the car swerved into a mechanic's garage. The metal shutter slammed down behind them. A woman with tribal scars emerged from the shadows. "This way." They were led through a hidden door into a concrete room with mattresses on the floor. A teenage girl nursing a baby nodded at them. 3 other women sat peeling plantains. "You're safe here," the scarred woman said. "For now." Toby whispered, "Mama, who are they?" Amara kissed his forehead. "Angels." The scarred woman, Ikit, showed Amara a wall of photos. "Missing women. Missing children. We track men like your husband," Ikit said, tapping a picture of Daniel at a Lagos nightclub, arm around a new young woman. "He's already hunting for wife number 3. Amara's stomach turned. "Why help me?" Ikit handed her a machete. "Because tomorrow, you'll help us." That night, Amara lay awake listening to the women's stories: girls sold by uncles, wives disappeared for insurance money, babies stolen through fake adoptions. Toby stirred in his sleep. Amara made her choice. Amara wore a wire under her blouse the next morning as she entered the cafe. Daniel sat waiting, his smile all teeth. "You look terrible," he said, sipping espresso. She clenched her hands under the table. "I want my son's passport." Daniel laughed. "Why would I give you that?" "Because I know about NECA." Amara leaned forward. "And the $750,000 insurance payout." Daniel's smile faltered. "A signal." Ikit's women moved in from all sides as Amara stood, revealing the wire. "Meet my new friends." They took Daniel to the Lecky Lagoon at midnight. Ikit held a gun to his head while Amara spoke. "Sign Toby's travel documents." Daniel scoffed. "Or what? You'll kill me?" The machete glinted in the moonlight as Amara stepped forward. "No. But I'll make sure you never hunt another woman again." His laughter died when she grabbed his belt. The papers were signed in blood. The speedboat cut through black water toward Benin Republic. Toby slept against Amara's chest as Ikit steered. "Your new life starts today," Ikit shouted over the motor. Amara watched Nigeria disappear. She thought of Daniel, left hogtied on the shore with copies of his crimes mailed to every news outlet. The first pink rays of dawn touched Toby's face. Amara whispered the words she'd waited years to say. "We're free." The Cotonou immigration officer stamped the fake passport without looking up. "Welcome to Benin, Madame Diallo." Amara kept one hand on Toby's shoulder as they stepped into the sweltering port city. Their new last name, Diallo, felt strange but safe. At a nearby market stall, she bought 2 plain gold wedding bands. "Put this on," she told Toby, sliding the smaller ring onto a string around his neck. "If anyone asks, your father was a fisherman lost at sea." Toby frowned at the lie but nodded. He hadn't spoken more than 3 words at a time since Lagos. Their 1-room apartment above a fabric shop had peeling yellow walls and a single mattress. As Amara unpacked their meager belongings, Toby suddenly asked, "Mama, is America real?" The question hung in the humid air. Amara knelt before him. "Some dreams," she said carefully, "cost too much." Toby's temperature spiked at midnight. Amara pressed wet cloths to his burning forehead as he thrashed. "The bad man's coming," he screamed in English, a language he'd never spoken fluently before. Toby's glassy eyes focused past her. "What bad man?" "The one who made me call him daddy." The clinic doctor next morning dismissed it as malaria. But when Amara changed Toby's sweat-soaked shirt, she found bruises on his ribs in the shape of fingerprints. That afternoon, she bought a knife from the fish market. The American woman found Amara selling phone credit cards at the Marché du Dantokba. "Mrs. Diallo?" Her French carried a Boston accent. "I'm Agent Cole with the Diplomatic Security Service." Amara's grip tightened on Toby's hand. "You're mistaken." Agent Cole slid a photo across the counter, Daniel, bruised but alive, giving a press conference. The headline, American businessman vows to find stolen son. "We know who you are," Cole said quietly. "And we know what he is." Amara's knife pressed against her thigh. "Then why come?" Cole left a card on the counter. "Because real justice needs witnesses." Toby's crayon artwork covered their apartment wall, stick figures with too many fingers. But one sketch made Amara's blood run cold, a detailed courtroom scene with Daniel on a throne, and tiny figures bowing before him. "Where did you see this?" Amara asked. Toby wouldn't meet her eyes. "In my dreams." That night, Amara burned the drawing. The flames revealed hidden details, a woman falling downstairs, a child being led away in chains. When she turned, Toby was watching. "The bad man's coming," he repeated. "For both of us." Agent Cole returned with a file. Inside, crime scene photos of Nneka's broken body, bank transfers to Nigerian officials, even a recorded phone call of Daniel negotiating Toby's adoption fee. "We can protect you," Cole said. "Witness protection in America." Amara laughed bitterly. "Last time cost me my soul." Cole pointed to Toby stacking bottles outside. "What's it costing him?" The truth sat between them like a live wire. Outside, thunder rolled in from the Atlantic. The first monsoon rain began to fall. Amara made her choice. The rain hammered the tin roof like gunfire as Amara packed their meager belongings. Toby watched from the mattress, his new sketchpad filled with increasingly disturbing images, airplanes crashing, buildings burning, always that same stick figure with Daniel's watch and tie. "Put on your shoes," Amara ordered, stuffing the knife into her waistband. Toby didn't move. Too late. He's already here. A car door slammed outside. Peering through the cracked shutter, Amara saw two Nigerian men in suits talking to their landlord. One held up a photo. Agent Cole's card burned in Amara's pocket. She dialed the number with shaking fingers. "Change of plan," she whispered when the agent answered. "We're coming in." The U.S. Embassy's underground holding cell smelled of bleach and fear. Agent Cole handed Amara a stack of forms. "Sign these, and you disappear forever." Amara hesitated at the line requiring her to testify against Daniel. "What happens to him?" Cole's smile was razor thin. "We have specialists for men like that." Toby pressed his ear to the wall. "They're lying," he said suddenly. "The bad man paid them too." Before Amara could react, the lights flickered. An alarm blared. "Stay here," Cole ordered, running out. The gunshots started 30 seconds later. Toby grabbed Amara's hand. "This way." He led her through a service tunnel Amara never would have noticed, his small fingers somehow knowing every turn. They emerged in an alley just as a black SUV screeched to a halt. Daniel stepped out, flanked by armed men. Amara shoved Toby behind a dumpster. "Don't move." She stepped forward, knife raised. Then the impossible happened. Toby screamed, a sound that shattered every car window on the block. Daniel's men clutched their ears, blood trickling from their noses. Daniel staggered back. "What the hell is that?" Amara didn't hesitate. She grabbed Toby and ran. The Dantokpa market became their hiding place, its labyrinthine alleys perfect for disappearing. But Toby's nose wouldn't stop bleeding. "It's the visions," he whimpered. "They hurt now." Amara wiped his face with her sleeve. "Make them stop." "I can't." His eyes rolled back. "He's coming with fire." That night, flames engulfed the fabric stalls. Amara dragged Toby through smoke-choked corridors as men shouted in Yoruba and French. At the waterfront, a fishing boat waited, just like in Toby's drawings. The captain extended a hand. "Ikit sent me." The boat reeked of rotting fish as it cut through the moonlit waves. Toby convulsed on the deck, his fever spiking again. Amara cradled him, whispering prayers in a language she'd forgotten she knew. Then his small hand gripped hers with terrifying strength. He's following, Toby gasped. But the water knows what to do. Behind them, a speedboat's lights appeared. Then, without warning, it flipped, vanishing beneath the waves as if pulled down by invisible hands. The captain crossed himself. Yamoja has spoken. Amara held her son closer. Whatever power lived inside him, it was waking up. And it was hungry. The fishing boat docked at a sliver of land where the surf pounded against jagged rocks. The captain refused to go further. Bad spirits here, he muttered, crossing himself again. Amara carried Toby ashore, his feverish body radiating heat. The island was deserted except for crumbling stone huts and the skeletons of fishing nets. Then she saw them, dozens of small wooden figures lashed to the trees, their painted eyes following her. Toby stirred in her arms. "They're waiting for me." A woman's voice spoke from the shadows, "We've been waiting for both of you." Ikit stepped into the moonlight, her scarred face grim. Behind her stood a circle of women holding machetes. The initiation hut smelled of burning herbs and old blood. Ikit pressed a knife to Toby's palm. "Your father was not just a man." Amara lunged forward, but strong hands held her back. "The boy carries Alakan's blood," Ikit continued, catching Toby's dripping blood in a clay bowl. "Daniel is just the vessel that carried the darkness." The blood began to boil in the bowl. Shadows swirled above it, forming a face Amara recognized, the oil magnate Briggs. Toby whispered, "He's the real father." Amara's knees gave out. The night she'd been drunk at Briggs' party, the missing hours. Ikit nodded. And now the sea god wants his son back. They gave Amara until dawn to decide. 1. Let the priestesses train Toby to control his power. 2. Have them cut the connection forever through a dangerous ritual. She walked the shore all night, the waves hissing at her feet. Toby found her at sunrise. "I dreamed the water showed you a box," he said. Amara stiffened. She'd buried a metal box years ago after fleeing Briggs, containing photos, a positive pregnancy test, and a stolen company ledger proving his crimes. "If I say no to the priestesses," Amara began. Toby took her hand. "Then we fight with what's in the box." The speedboat ride back was choppy. Toby sat unnaturally still, seawater beating on his skin without soaking in. Amara clutched the metal box. The ledger inside detailed Briggs' illegal oil dumping, enough to destroy him. But the final page froze her blood. Subject A, male offspring, exhibits rapid cellular mutation. Recommend immediate retrieval. Briggs hadn't just used her. He'd bred her. As Lago's skyline appeared, Toby suddenly gasped. "He knows we're coming." The first explosion rocked the marina before they docked. Flames engulfed the waterfront. Amara dragged Toby through smoke, the metal box heavy in her bag. A figure emerged from the fire, Briggs, untouched by the flames. "You stole my greatest investment," he growled. Toby stepped forward, the sea at his back rising unnaturally. "You made a mistake, Daddy." The wave that hit them was 20 feet tall. When the water receded, Briggs was gone. Only his Rolex remained, ticking on the sand. Amara reached for Toby, but he collapsed, his nose, ears, and eyes leaking seawater. The ocean had taken its price. Toby's skin took on a translucent sheen, blue veins mapping strange patterns across his body. The clinic doctors fled when seawater began pooling beneath his cot. Ikit arrived at dawn with a clay pot. "His human form is breaking," she said, rubbing tilapia oil into Toby's cracking skin. Amara watched his fingernails flake away like seashells. "How long?" "Until the next high tide." Ikit's hand stilled. "Then Alakan claims what's his." Toby's eyes flew open, fully black now. "Mama, the ledger page, turn it over." On the back, in Briggs' handwriting, "If acquisition fails, activate sterilization protocol at Lagoon Site 7. Amara's blood turned to ice. The mangrove tunnel stank of rotting fish and diesel. Amara steered the stolen canoe toward the coordinates, Toby shivering at the bow. "They're poisoning the water," he whispered. Ahead, a concrete facility loomed over the lagoon. Security lights illuminated pipes dumping neon-green sludge into the waves. Toby convulsed as they neared. "It's killing my blood." Amara beached the canoe. "Then we kill it first." She left him hidden in the roots with Ikit's machete and approached the fence. The lock yielded to 3 sharp blows. Somewhere, an alarm began to wail. Amara found the control room empty. Screens showed underwater cameras capturing dying fish, their scales sloughing off in the toxic current. A red button read, "Emergency release." She hesitated. Flooding the facility would spread the poison. Then the door burst open. Briggs stood framed in the doorway, a pistol raised. "Should have taken the money," he sneered. Behind him, the lagoon erupted. Toby rose from the water, his body remade, skin like polished jet, hair floating like seaweed. The poison stream parted around him. Briggs fired. The bullet became water midair. "You made me to control the tides," Toby intoned, his voice layered with something ancient. "But the tides control you now." The wave hit with the force of a freight train. Amara grabbed a support beam as the room flooded. Through the churning water, she saw Briggs' body break against the machinery. Then strong hands pulled her up. Toby's eyes were human again. "It's finished." Dawn found them on a beach far from the wreckage. Toby's skin had returned to normal, though his footprints glistened wet on dry sand. Ikit waited by a fishing boat. "The world will hunt him now." Amara touched her son's cheek. "Then we disappear." The priestess handed her a new passport. "America?" Amara shook her head, looking at Toby. "Somewhere without oceans." As the boat motored toward the horizon, Toby pressed his palm to the waves. The water recoiled. Behind them, the first news helicopters circled the flooded ruin of Briggs' empire. Ahead, the sun rose on a new day. A new life. A world where some secrets could finally be laid to rest.